and how, in fact, we came to discover that they apply across the universe and across time itself.
Yeah, if we look back to the early universe, there's no evidence that it's changed in our history.
Yeah, of the laws of physics has changed.
So right from the moment the universe was created, the speed of light was exactly the same.
Yes, from the earliest measurements that we could possibly make. Bam! Like, last question,
Nails.
go.
Final question from Derek Luderus from Oklahoma. How would a galactic empire keep a uniform standard of time?
This is on you, Neil. Let me just quickly pass this over.
I would just ask why, an empire that is all coherent, right? Because if you didn't otherwise care, if it's too far away, what do you care?
I'm guessing this question is sort of, all right, so on Earth we have different time zones, but there's universal time zone as well that we use.
Yeah.
What's the galactic version of that?
Yeah, you couldn't, because the light travel time across a galaxy is 100,000 years. So there'd be no such thing as any meaningful simultaneity of what's going on, unless your communication channels happen through wormholes. And so here's one side of the galaxy, here's the other side of the galaxy, that's 100,000 light years to cross, and you create a wormhole connecting the two, and everybody's got a wormhole, and it'd be like a wormhole Skype connection, and then your signals go through the wormholes. Then you could do that.
All right.
Well, you agree?
Yeah, if you can keep a wormhole open, you can find a shortcut.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
there you go. Got that?
All right,
Okay.
so get on that, scientist.
Well, that's the end of Cosmic Queries. Up next, I ask Professor Hawking, is time travel possible? When Star Talk returns. Welcome back to Star Talk. We're featuring my interview with Professor Stephen Hawking, world-renowned physicist. And I've got with me physicist Michio Kaku. Michio! A theoretical physicist, a professor at the City College of New York Times best-selling author of The Physics of the Impossible, one of my favorite books of his, also The Physics of the Future, and The Future of the Mind. So, Michio, you're kind of known for entertaining wild ideas in science fiction that could be based in actual fact. Does that characterize you accurately?
I think it's better to say that I talk about science fact, which appears to look like science fiction because people haven't kept up.
Ooh, very nice, very nice. So I had to ask Professor Hawking a classic sci-fi question. All right, let's check it out. So, Stephen, will we ever have the ability to travel backwards in time? I'm thinking not, simply because if we ever did obtain that ability, we would have met somebody by now from the future.
One might hope that we could warp space-time, so that one could go off in a rocket and come back in the past. But I have shown that this is not possible, if energy density is always non-negative.
Okay. I think it's a big if. All we have to do is create negative energy density stuff, then we'll all be able to travel backwards in time. What?
Well, I've done this show a few times now, and I think this is the one where I really do feel the dumbest. Like, what is non-negative energy density?
Yeah, actually, I'm not even completely sure myself.
What is negative energy density?
So, yeah,
I feel like
yeah, Michio, yeah, come on. It's got your name on it.
On Star Trek, it's called dilithium crystals, which make warp drive, wormholes, and time travel possible. For a physicist, it is negative matter and negative energy. Things that fall up rather than falling down. Now, a black hole has positive energy. Energy enriches the fabric of space-time, but it's unstable. It collapses back on itself. You need negative energy or matter to keep it open. That's why Hawking made a very famous theorem showing that wormholes, showing that time machines require negative energy to keep the black holes and things like this from collapsing again. It is anti-gravitational, repulsive, and that's what prevents the black hole from collapsing all the way.
Okay, so how are we going to create negative energy?
Negative energy already exists. If I have an advanced civilization, much more powerful than our civilization today, they could make large quantities of negative energy and perhaps go backwards in time and become masters of the universe. You
So
could create wormholes to go across the galaxy,
And that
go
would-
backwards in time, witness the Big Bang.
that would then enable backwards time travel.
That's right. In fact, Stephen Hawking himself has shown this theorem showing that the only way to go backwards in time is to have negative energy, energy below the zero of the ordinary vacuum.
So how do you avoid getting into a whole Martin McFly and Mum situation?
Because the river of time forks into two rivers into a multiverse. So when you go backwards in time to save Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated at the Ford Theater, it's someone else's Abraham Lincoln that you just saved. You cannot alter your own past. Quantum mechanics says that time itself can fission. Time itself can become a multiverse of parallel universes.
Right?
You see-
Didn't Hawking once come up
Maybe
with
you can't make that
a
choice.
backwards time travel conjecture so that you don't have this Marty McFly problem?
Chronology, protection, conjecture.
And what does that protect?
It protects the order of causal events so that you are unable, even if there exists mathematically on paper the possibility to go back in time, you can't kill your mother before you were born because that would be inconsistent.
Okay, so Michio is going to get around that by saying time forks.
That's right. According to the quantum principle, time is constantly forking so that our universe, being a bubble that expands, can actually become a multiverse like in a soap bubble. So a soap bubble bath. Think of lots of bubbles bifurcating, colliding with each other, and that's the Big Bang. The Big Bang is nothing but the collision or the fissioning of soap bubbles in a bubble bath called the landscape of the multiverse. This is now the dominant theory in quantum cosmology.
If time travel, it may not be possible unless we have this negative energy density
Well,
stuff.
this is something I
But
can
Nick's
agree
showing
with.
that negative energy
it may
exists.
be possible for us all.
That's right.
This
in the
negative
far
energy stuff.
future.
But that is sometime in the future at a point unknown. But what is true right now is that we have space travel, even if time travel is not available to us right now. So I asked Stephen Hawking, what is his sort of bold vision for humanity's future beyond Earth in the form of space? Let's check it out. So, Stephen, you've said publicly that you want us to be a multi-planet species. And who could argue that? I'm with you there. However, I have one mild rebuttal. Because you defend that argument by saying something bad could happen here on Earth. An asteroid, a runaway virus, rendering us all extinct. And if we exist only on one planet, that's the end of the human species. I get that. But here's my mild rebuttal. Isn't it easier to deflect an asteroid? Easier to find a super serum that will combat any deadly virus than it is to terraform Mars and ship 1 billion people there?
Collision with an asteroid is one of the least of the dangers we now face. The last collision was 70 million years ago. Nuclear war, climate change, and pollution are now much greater threats. Of course, it would be impossible to move the population of the Earth to a new planet, but if we can establish independent, self-sustaining colonies in space, it would ensure the survival of the human race in the event of a disaster on Earth. Leaving Earth will also give us a new perspective and cause us to look outwards rather than inwards. It would also unite us to face the common challenge.
Whoa. So, Jan, are you ready to go to Mars for these reasons?
Yeah, I think, isn't it still a one-way ticket, though? Isn't that
At
one
the
of
moment,
the problems?
yeah.
I mean, we could get to Mars with the technology we have now and the money we have now, but we can't get people home. So that's, you know.
Well, we actually interviewed somebody on Star Talk who had signed up for the one-way trip. And it was a little odd because, you know, he was all excited about it. And apparently he's married. So I said, what does your wife say about it? And he said, oh, she encouraged it. And I'm thinking, have you really looked at your situation?
She's building her own rocket. Like, she says if NASA doesn't get there, then she's going to do it herself.
So, Michio, are you a big fan of colonizing other planets?
Yes, in fact, there's going to be a traffic jam over Mars around 2030. Elon Musk, NASA with the SLS booster rocket, and now Amazon.com. I mean, everyone's jumping in the game now to create booster rockets capable of taking us to Mars on a two-way trip.
So
Amazon's the only one, by the way, that's going for same-day delivery.
Good one. Only if it's Amazon Prime. Right. So I think at a different point, Hawking had said that civilization only has 100 years left on Earth, which seemed a little pessimistic to me. Jana?
Well, I mean, I don't think, I worry I say this too much. I don't think we look like the most successful species that's ever walked the face of the earth. I mean, dinosaurs were here for hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah.
Like, we invented, industrialization sort of took over in the past couple hundred, and we're already near threatening our own demise. So it doesn't look great for us, to be honest.
Ooh.
I think if we don't blow ourselves up, we'll become what is called a type 1 civilization in 100 years. That is a planetary civilization. A type 2 civilization is stellar. They control the power of an entire star a few thousand years into the future. Then type 3 civilization is galactic. They control black holes. They control the energy of an entire galaxy. Now, on this scale, we are type 0. We get our energy from dead plants, oil and coal. We don't even rate on this scale. But if we can make it to the next 100 years, if we can make it through it, we will become a type 1 civilization, truly planetary. And that'll be the greatest transition in the history of the human race. From segmented nations that fight each other with fundamentalist ideologies to a planetary civilization that is secular, scientific, multicultural, and at peace. If we can make it through the next 100 years, then we make it to type 1.
Well, this is a perfect time for our game show. How we're not going to make it through the next 100 years. So we did a little survey of how the world will end.
Okay.
Neil, what do you think?
My money's on the zombie apocalypse.
Zombie apocalypse.
yeah.
Let's see if it's up there.
No. Okay. All right.
Oh, shame on you, Neil. Jana.
Okay, let's do nuclear holocaust.
All right, nuclear holocaust.
Woo!
Nuclear war. Whoa.
Nuclear war is up there.
Meet you.
And here we are.
I want to be the bad boy and say that we will survive. That humanity will struggle through, will squeak by, and we're not going to end ourselves.
Ooh.
Let's see.
You're wrong. So Matt, let's see all the answers.
All right, let's see
yeah.
what we got. Let's see what we missed.
I think
Okay.
AI is going to be up there.
AI,
AI
I
takes
can
over.
tell you right
Artificial
now,
superintelligence.
AI
Climate
was
change.
up there.
Right.
Good old-fashioned non-nuclear war. I'm not sure that would end the world, but asteroid and climate change at number 1.
Yeah. We agree that all of this is bad.
All of this
Yeah.
is possible.
Well, up next, I asked physicist Stephen Hawking about the future of our minds when Star Talk returns. Welcome back to Star Talk from the American Museum of Natural History. We're featuring my interview with famed physicist Stephen Hawking. Okay. So, Stephen, if we ever really develop the technology to upload your brain into some computer, providing life after death, or at least consciousness after death, would you be first to sign up for that?
My body hardly works at all because I have motor neuron disease, otherwise known as ALS. So getting rid of it would be no loss and would spare me discomfort. Being immortal as solely a brain, I could see the future unless I was terminated by someone switching off the computer or by a computer virus.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. If you're a computer, you're susceptible.
You can have copies.
Look, you just...
Make a backup.
So, Mitchell, the title here, The Future of Mind, the scientific question of understanding the power of the mind. When will uploading our brain become a reality? If at all.
Digital immortality is starting
What's going on?
That's right. Telepathy, telekinesis, uploading memories, recording dreams. We can, quote, do all of the above. This is no longer science fiction. You go to the physics laboratories, and you can see how images can be extracted from the human brain. How it's possible now that we can upload memories in animals and record memories from animals because physics can now probe thoughts as they go ricocheting through the brain.
Is what you're describing the same thing as consciousness? Because if that's the case, then we can say it's not just our thoughts that live forever, it's our very identity, our self, our conscious self that lives forever.
Well, there is a theory that says the soul. The soul is information. It's a vast amount of information, but nonetheless, it's information that can be put into holographic form, such that even if you pass away, something there survives.
But theoretically, that is effectively immortality. Once you reach that point, that is you living forever.
Why not have digital immortality? Wouldn't you want to talk to your great-great-great-great-great-grandkids who want to meet their great-great-great-great ancestor?
It depends what they're like.
This gives you movement throughout time and throughout space. So this is being godlike.
Well, that's what we're talking about, transcending the human race.
Because I asked Stephen Hawking about his thoughts on the future of religion, just to get his sense of this spirituality going forward. Let's check it out. So, Stephen, religion has been around for thousands of years, and it long predates science. And in spite of the effort of modern ardent atheists, religion persists. So, do you have any sense of what religion will be in the future of civilization?
Religion was an early attempt to answer the questions we all ask. Why are we here? Where did we come from? Nowadays, science provides better and more consistent answers, but people will always cling to religion because it gives comfort, and they do not trust or understand science.
Yeah, Stephen Hawking is imagining that any time you didn't understand something and ascribed it to deity, science would then fix it for you. But there's the rest of what people use religion for, the spiritual fulfillment and the rest of this. And it's not obvious that science has solutions to that going forward.
Don't you feel a sort of surge of excitement
all
and
the
a
time.
thrill and the connection
Yes.
to the universe, just to know that even though we're stuck on this silly little rock, that we're able to know that much?
Oh, yeah.
That's stunning. That
I'm
we're
deeply
able to
moved.
look. Yeah, it is. It is deeply moving. So this whole kind of notion that it leaves you feeling cold and sterile, that there is this scientific thinking, has been the opposite of my personal experience.
Yeah, I think we're hardwired that way. Evolution has given us a brain to be receptive to awe, to receptive to beauty, and that's why there's a God gene, because we are genetically programmed to believe in superstition, because that's the way it has always been, even today.
Touch wood.
Before science came along.
Touch wood.
That's right.
knock on wood. Knock on wood. Be true. Well, coming up, the one and only Stephen Hawking offers some life lessons for us all. Next on Star Talk. Welcome back to Star Talk from the American Museum of Natural History. And we're featuring my interview with legendary physicist Stephen Hawking. And I wanted to hear more about Stephen Hawking's perspective on life. And so I asked him, who's his favorite non-scientist? Check it out.
A few years ago, I would have